Almost everyone feels like they need more money. It seems like everybody is upset about inflation, everybody is underpaid. But the truth is, we all waste a lot of money. People aren't great at spending their money wisely, let alone saving it. This video is about popular purchases that are actually a huge waste of money. By the way, don't feel bad if you've bought some of this stuff. We're all irrational when it comes to money, and spending is subjective. I buy things that most people would consider a huge waste of money, like watches. No one needs a watch. People are irrational. First, let's get into the list, starting with possibly the #1 biggest waste of money: supplements. The vast majority of supplements don't work. That is simply the truth. Centuries ago, we had traveling salesmen tricking people into buying snake oil, and it worked. Nowadays, we have web-savvy business bros slinging CBD oil, and it's still working. That is, the marketing tactics are working. The oil is not working. The truth is, there's no hard data to support most supplement brands' claims. That's why in every supplement bottle, you'll always see vague language like supports healthy immune defense or enhances mental agility. Of course, you'll also see much more specific disclaimers like this product is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So it's like, well, which is it? Does it do anything or not? Because you're kind of saying both on the bottle. It's not. Supplements are expensive too. This is a $100 billion industry. Billion with a B. But other than a handful of time-tested, scientifically validated supplements like creatine or vitamin D, they're pretty much all worthless. And even the ones that do work aren't for everybody. After all, these are supplements, meaning that they can fill a deficiency if needed. My advice is to not waste any money on supplements unless you're 100% sure that you need them based on advice from your doctor or lab tests or very strong personal anecdotal evidence. All natural beauty products. The all-natural beauty industry is booming right now. People don't want chemicals on their skin. They want to believe that natural ingredients will make them look and feel better. Well, first off, the terms natural and clean are unregulated, so they don't actually mean anything. Because any brand can just slap these words on the label regardless of which ingredients they're actually using. Also, natural doesn't necessarily mean safe. Naturally derived ingredients can be bad for you just like synthetic ones can. Regardless, here's the harsh reality. Natural ingredients aren't as effective as synthetic ones. Take acne treatment, for example. All the aloe vera and tea tree oil in the world will not make your pimples disappear, but salicylic acid and certain retinoids will almost certainly help. These are safe and effective synthetic ingredients backed by loads of science and decades of anecdotal evidence. I'm telling you, don't waste your money on homeopathic, skincare, or grooming products. They just don't work. Huge knife sets. Too many people buy these huge 20-plus piece knife sets. You know, the kind that come in those blocks with all the slots? You see these on wedding registries all the time, and it's a great way to buy 37 low-quality knives. The truth is, you only need like 3 or 4 different types of knives, and a good knife is pretty expensive. It's not that a set is a bad idea. I mean, those blocks are actually a really good way to store your knives. I'm just saying, buy a smaller one. Focus on the basics. A high-quality chef's knife, paring knife, maybe a serrated knife for slicing bread. Go for a respectable brand like Wusthof, Masono, or Mercer. Get them sharpened when they seem dull. You can usually find a knife sharpener at your local farmer's market. Then, let your kids fight over them when you're dead. Generic box store art. Yes, you can buy art from places like Target or IKEA or World Market, but these are the empty calories of home decor. This art doesn't mean anything to anyone. It was mass-produced in some Chinese factory. Thousands of other people have the exact same print hanging on their wall. Personally, I'd rather have nothing on my wall than these generic mass-market prints. Now, if you see a piece that you genuinely love and really connect with in one of these big box stores, by all means, buy it. But let's be honest, most people are only buying decor from these big box stores to fill the empty space on their wall or on their mantle or in their heart. Instead, just be patient. Go thrifting, go to local art and craft markets, buy something made by a real human being, maybe even someone who lives in your town. Pay a little more for something that really speaks to you. If you're at a loss, you can never go wrong with photos of friends and family. Lottery tickets. Every year, people spend hundreds of billions of dollars on lottery tickets. Americans alone spend over $100 billion a year playing the lottery. And we all know our chance of winning big is virtually zero. It's completely irrational, just like playing the slot machines in Vegas or yelling at an inanimate object after you stub your toe on the sofa. Now, I'm not one of those people. Not because I'm smart or anything, I'm just too risk averse with my money. I've never been drawn to playing the lottery. I like index funds. I'm practical with my money to the point of being boring, some might argue. Now, the uncomfortable truth is, most people like me, educated, wealthier and white, aren't spending a lot of money on lottery tickets. It's mostly lower income, less educated, and non-white people who are spending money that they don't have on lotteries they won't win. In other words, it's kind of a predatory industry. Personally, I think the lottery should just be illegal. I think this is one area where the free market has clearly failed us and the government should just step in and regulate. But that'll never happen, so the only solution is to opt out and save your hard-earned money. Bottled water. Bottled water has to be one of the biggest consumer scams of all time. Some brilliant capitalist was like, let's take something that people already have a virtually free, unlimited supply of in their house, and let's bottle it up and make them drive to the store to get less of it. Oh, and we're gonna charge like 30 times more than they'd normally pay. One last thing, let's use single-use plastic containers. They won't mind. Now, obviously, I'm talking about developed countries with clean drinking water here, but that's a lot of the world, which is why the bottled water industry raked in $342 billion last year. That's despite the fact that many countries, like here in the US, we have tap water that's totally safe to drink. Some people complain about the taste. Personally, I've never been bothered by it, but if you really don't like the taste, there are all sorts of filtration devices that you can buy, many of which cost less than a pack of bottled water. Food delivery services. Getting food that's ready to eat delivered to your front door used to be a luxury. I remember growing up in the 90s, we would occasionally get pizza or Chinese food delivered to the house. Those were your only two choices back then. And it was a special occasion. This is not something we were doing every night or even every week. Now people are using Grubhub and DoorDash to get whatever they want delivered on a regular basis. And they're paying for it, on average an extra $2 to $5 plus tip. And it's funny because before app delivery was a thing, you would just give this $2 to $5 directly to the delivery person in cash. Now these ethically dubious tech companies are raking in billions, acting as the shady middlemen of dinner. The crazy thing is you don't need your food delivered. You can just go pick it up. But even in hyper-walkable cities like New York, people are still using app delivery because they just won't leave their apartment. It always seems so crazy to me, like just save your $5, get off the couch, go grab your takeout. Or, this is kind of radical, cook. Alcohol. People spend so much money on booze. I said booze. The worst offenders are single men with high-paying jobs. I think that kind of makes sense because they have both time and cash to burn. But most people, regardless of income or marital status, spend money on alcohol each month. The average millennial spends $110 per month on alcohol. That's like a week's worth of groceries or 3 tanks of gas or a subscription to every streaming service. And not only is it totally unnecessary, it actually leads to all sorts of health problems. I'm no teetotaler. I spend money on alcohol too, but I've cut back on my drinking as I've gotten older. And you know what? I'm healthier and wealthier for it. New phones. Before the iPhone came out, mobile device manufacturers like Nokia and BlackBerry didn't release new models every year. They launched new products when they had new products ready to launch. Incremental updates didn't get much attention. We didn't watch annual keynotes. We were just wowed every few years when some new tech came out, like the first flip phone or camera phone or touchscreen. Then the first iPhone came out, and it was incredible. But every year, Apple would make a huge deal about the new version. Some of these updates were impressive, but especially recently, a lot of them just felt forced. Like, is the iPhone 16 really that much different or better than the 15 or 14? No. Do our $1,000 phones stop working after just 1 year? Of course not. My iPhone 13 mini is still going strong, and I don't plan on replacing it until I have to. The thing is, tech companies have done such a good job at making us feel like we need the latest model. And the tricky thing is, our phones don't feel expensive because most of us are on payment plans through our carrier, like T-Mobile or Verizon. But don't be fooled. You're still paying that full $1,000 one way or another. So I say ignore the hype. If your phone is still working, there's no need to upgrade. Storage units. Isn't it crazy that we have so much stuff we have to buy extra space outside of our house just to hold on to it all? Self-storage is a $44 billion industry. There are entire blogs dedicated to teaching people how to make money in the self-storage industry. There are obnoxious startup bros bragging about their storage business profits on Twitter. The crazy thing is, every year, 150,000 storage units are auctioned off. This means that whoever purchased those units and put their stuff in it either died or just abandoned it. I guess it turns out that whatever they were keeping in there wasn't very important to them after all. If you find yourself wanting extra space to keep your things, ask yourself, do you really want to hold on to that stuff? Like, could you sell it or donate it instead of paying $150 a month to hoard it away in a dark concrete box? I bet that if you let this stuff go, you'd never think about it again and you'd feel like a weight was lifted off your shoulders. Extravagant weddings. The wedding industry is like Las Vegas. It's been perfectly optimized over many decades to separate people from their money. For example, a regular hair and makeup job from a salon might run you $75 to $100. But you tell them it's for a wedding and all of a sudden it's $300 plus tip. Same goes for florists, bakeries, venues, photographers. That's why in 2023, the average cost for a wedding in the United States was $35,000. This is up $5,000 from the previous year, and you still see everybody complaining about the job market and inflation. Like, hey, maybe don't spend the price of a brand new car or a down payment on a house on one freaking day. It's actually insane insane if you think about it. My wife and I had a small family-only wedding at a friend's house. Our reception was at a small brewery nearby. We probably spent a few $1,000s total, including on a pretty nice honeymoon outside of Cabo. And yeah, I got some flack about doing it this way. People are brainwashed by this industry. But you don't have to buy into the wedding madness. If you want to get married at the courthouse and spend your money on a nice honeymoon, I say go for it. Speaking of wedding industry madness, diamonds. Diamonds are one of the longest running consumer scams. And even though everybody kind of knows this, diamond sales continue to rise. Most people kind of know that diamonds aren't as scarce or precious as the diamond industry would have us believe. I mean, we now have access to conflict-free lab-grown diamonds. Yet still, the diamond industry will generate over $100 billion this year. This is largely due to people spending, on average, $5,500 on diamond engagement rings. Why? You could use that money to pay off credit card debt or student loans or go on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation. Or you could put that money in an index fund, do literally nothing, and in 10 years, you'll have $13,000. Now, I get that there's a ton of social pressure to buy an expensive diamond engagement ring in the same way that there's pressure to have an extravagant wedding. You've probably heard that old adage that men should spend 2 to 3 months' salary on an engagement ring. So this ridiculous guideline was invented by De Beers, the world's largest diamond producer. That's got to be one of the best marketing campaigns of all time. Never mind the fact that it was dreamed up by a sketchy, monopolistic company with a history of price fixing and mistreatment of indigenous people. Let's not argue about who killed who. My point is, diamonds are a huge scam with very little inherent value outside of industrial use. They're not an investment. Natural diamonds are not better than lab-grown diamonds. We all need to stop wasting our money on these dumb rocks. Home fitness equipment. Some people use their Pelotons every day, and that's great. But most home gym equipment ends up collecting dust in the garage or the basement. Just go to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and see how many treadmills and exercise bikes are listed for sale. About 40% of Americans own home gym equipment. Oddly, 40% of Americans are obese. Something doesn't add up. And this gear is expensive, like a high-quality exercise bike or weightlifting setup is going to run you over $1,000. For that same amount of money, you could get yourself a fancy gym membership for a whole year, new workout clothes, and even a few sessions with a personal trainer. I think home gym equipment makes sense for people who already have an exercise habit. Like if you've been strength training 4 times a week for the last few years and you're ready for the convenience of being able to lift at home, yeah, invest in a squat rack. But if you don't work out regularly and you think that buying a new treadmill or a kettlebell set will transform your relationship to fitness, it probably won't. After all, if you really wanted to go for a jog, you could just walk outside and start running. I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. Be realistic. If you do want to invest in your health, I think the best thing you can buy is a coach. Find somebody local who can hold you accountable to actually show up to the gym and get a workout in. That is money well spent. Luxury cars. Isn't it funny that we assume people who are driving expensive cars are wealthy? Because when you see somebody driving a $70,000 Mercedes, it only means one thing. They have $70,000 less dollars than they used to. Or more likely, they now owe somebody $70,000. That's like $1,300 a month for 5 years. And now the true cost of that car is over $80,000. So that person is literally less wealthy for owning that car, not more wealthy. And while that Benz might come with some fun bells and whistles, it doesn't get them from point A to point B any faster or safer than a cheaper car would. In fact, luxury cars are often less reliable and much more expensive to maintain. I get it. They're probably the most recognizable status symbol in modern society. Like most people probably could spot the difference between a $200 off-the-rack suit and a $2,000 bespoke suit, but everyone inherently understands the price gap between a BMW and a Honda. I'm not immune to this desire. In my 20s, when I was driving an old Buick LeSabre, best car I ever owned, then after that, a used Nissan Altima, not so great, I really wanted a Lexus IS250. I just loved that car. I test drove it a few times, and not gonna lie, I almost bought one. But instead, I stuck with my Altima until it died. Then I shared my wife's old Sentra before inheriting a 2000 Honda Accord, which ran way better than it looked. Then after we had our first kid, I bought the only new car I've ever purchased, a Honda CR-V, and honestly, it's fantastic. So I say forget status and reputation, buy a car that you can afford, preferably in cash unless you can get a really low interest rate, then drive it into the ground. Sports and political paraphernalia. Licensed sports merchandise is a $33 billion market, and at $130 for a watered-down version of your favorite NFL player's jersey, kinda makes sense. I mean, that's a lot of money for an oversized polyester t-shirt you're gonna wear 5 times a year. year. People spend a ton of money on sports and political paraphernalia and memorabilia. Now, I can understand paying to go see a game or to watch sports at home, although it's not how I choose to spend my time. Buying all the merch, I just don't get it. Right now, the average American has $8,674 of credit card debt. How is anyone affording $130 jerseys? Now, the answer, of course, is they're not. That jersey is just getting them deeper into debt. You can still be a good fan without all the trappings. Trust me, your favorite players and coaches and managers and stadiums, they're making enough money. And same goes for political merch, which honestly is even worse because at least sports are fun. Monthly subscription boxes. There's a subscription box for literally everything. If you're prepping for the nuclear apocalypse, there's a box for that. Are you a quirky old cat lady? There's a box for that too. As if we all didn't have enough stuff in our lives already. In my opinion, the only subscriptions that make sense are for perishable items like razors or meal kits. But even then, it's often cheaper to just buy the exact thing you want in the right amount from a store or online. And if you're thinking that these niche subscription boxes might make for good holiday gifts, I'd urge you to think a little harder about what your special somebody might really want. Something that's not just going to clutter up their house and end up in a storage unit. Energy drinks. If you want caffeine, just drink a cup of coffee. Energy drinks are loaded with a bunch of chemicals that don't actually do anything. Even worse, many of them have loads of sugar, sometimes an entire day's worth of sugar in one can. And the sugar-free options have lots of artificial sweeteners like aspartame, which are addictive and possibly harmful in other ways. I can see using energy drinks in very specific situations like for a pre-workout boost, but to stay up late gaming? Come on. Plus, if you do need a pre-workout boost, coffee works just as well for that. It's also safe, cheap, low calorie, even if you put some cream in it. Energy drinks are a big business. That's why there are so many different brands. They're so aggressive with their marketing, always shilling these dubious health benefits. Now they're even targeting kids, which is crazy. Save your money, just make a cup of coffee at home, or just stop drinking caffeine entirely. Designer clothes and accessories. Paying a crazy markup for brand name clothing and accessories is totally irrational. Don't get me wrong. You often get what you pay for when it comes to clothing. Like a $40 Pima cotton t-shirt is going to be way better than the $5 synthetic blend that you find on Temu. But there's a point of diminishing returns, and most designer luxury brands exist way beyond that point. Think about like Supreme hoodies or Gucci handbags or Golden Goose sneakers. Sure, they're probably made with high quality materials, but that's really not what people are paying for. These goods are marked up way beyond industry standards simply because of the hype. See, these designer brands are masters at creating false scarcity, dropping limited numbers of special edition products, and then using endorsement marketing like paying celebrities and influencers to be seen wearing the brand to create desire for these products. And it works. Us humans are simple creatures, we're easily duped. But the truth is, paying $200 for a Supreme hoodie or $1,000 for a Gucci handbag is just dumb. These are depreciating assets, mass manufactured in the same factories that regular brands are using. And despite the clever marketing, they're really just thinly veiled status symbols. I say spend money on quality, but try to be agnostic to brands and logos. Disposable fashion. On the other end of the spectrum, we have fast disposable fashion. This is even worse than designer fashion because despite the crazy markups, luxury products will probably last a long time if you treat them well. In contrast, the clothes that you buy from Temu and Shine and Forever 21 are only going to last 1 or 2 years before needing to be replaced. It's helpful to think about clothing and accessories in terms of cost per wear or cost per use. Like if you buy a $20 genuine leather belt and it starts cracking after, say, 50 wears, that belt actually cost you 40 cents per wear. But if you buy a $100 full-grain leather belt and it lasts you for 10 years or 1,500 wears, that belt actually cost you 6 cents per wear. Plus, you'll enjoy it more. It's just a better belt. It'll look better and feel better, and it was probably produced in a more ethical way. Buy less, buy better. I'd love to hear from you. Do you agree or disagree with my list? What are some other things that people waste money on? Let me know in the comments. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time, stay stylish.